YouTubers. Hey, tonight I'm going to be doing a kind of a copycat recipe from a friend of mine on YouTube who I saw doing this. He put the YouTube video up 2 or 3 days ago. I finally got around to seeing it this morning, and my wife came in while I was looking at the video, and she thought that looked good too. So today at the grocery store we bought all the ingredients and we're going to give it a try. So a big thank you to Juanelo for suggesting this recipe, and what I'm going to be doing is Juanelo's version of chicken cordon bleu. He also calls it chicken Corleone bleu. Now I am going to make a change because Juanelo likes goat cheese in this, and personally I can't stand goat cheese. He says, well, you can use a different kind of cheese, and traditionally this would be used with Swiss cheese. So that's what I'm going to do, is we're going to go a little bit more traditional. Goat cheese just ain't going to make it in this household. Neither my wife nor I like the stuff. So Juanelo, thank you very much for the basic concept and for the technique. I'm going to try and follow what you did as closely as I can, but wherever you used goat cheese, I'm using Swiss cheese. So let's get around to taking a look at how this is done, and I'm going to show you the ingredients and how I start up with the chicken. One of the first ingredients that Juanelo used was coconut flour. I went and bought some Bob's Red Mill coconut flour today. I'm going to use a little bit less than Juanelo did, but there's 2/3 of a cup. And that's going to be for breading the chicken. The other thing Juanelo had, and I just ground these up, pork rinds, what he calls powdered bacon. So we'll take the wrong container. Well, I'm guessing that's about 2/3 of a cup. I put this in the wrong bowl. And the next thing that he did with the powdered bacon is he had grated Parmesan cheese. His was grated, the real fine powdery stuff. I prefer the small shreds, so I'm putting in small shreds, and I'm not measuring. I'm just gonna, when it looks about right. So that's Belgioso's Parmesan cheese. That's good stuff. And I'll just mix this up a little bit by hand. It'll still stick to the chicken. So we'll pour the rest of the powdered bacon into a container and put it in the freezer, or the fridge. Meanwhile, I did save out one piece because I think these pork rinds taste good. I know that tastes good. It really is. I still need to get a couple eggs and put them in here and beat them. We'll do that in a minute. Here's one other thing I'm going to do a little different. Not very different, it's very close. Juanelo was able to find thin slices of chicken breast. I could find whole chicken breast, so what I'm going to do is butterfly the chicken breast just by seeing if I can carefully slice it in half and fold it open to make it thinner. Not quite enough yet. I'm still going to pound it like he did, but I'm thinking that that will be a thinner piece like that. Put this into the plastic wrap. And just like Juanelo did, we'll pound the daylights out of it. I'll do the other one off cam. I am ready to start rolling up the pieces of chicken with the prosciutto and the Swiss cheese. So let me show you what I've got here for prosciutto. I just bought a package of this stuff at Festival Foods today. So first thing is you take the prosciutto, lay it on the chicken, and then take the plastic off of it. And we take the next piece of prosciutto, lay it on the chicken, and take the plastic off of it. They are Swiss cheese right on top, and then we're going to roll this in the same way that we've learned at sushi school about rolling a maki roll. We're using the plastic to help us roll it. See how I'm doing this with the plastic? Kind of just helps us. I can just kind of keep rolling it like this. See how that works? That gives me a nice tight roll. Okay. Set the plastic aside. Give it a little drenching of Italian seasoning. And then we'll roll it in breadcrumbs. This isn't breadcrumbs, flour is what it's supposed to be, and this is the coconut flour. So we've rolled it in coconut flour, dip it into the egg wash, then we come over and roll it in the what should be breadcrumbs, but we're using powdered bacon and Parmesan. And we'll just leave it sit there for a second because the frying pan isn't quite up to temperature, and I'll move it into the frying pan in just a second. Alright, let me show you what I've got here. I've got the 2 pieces of rolled up chicken that have been dredged in the coconut flour, then the egg wash, and finally the imitation breadcrumbs, which is really powdered bacon and Parmesan cheese. And the next step is going to put these right into the frying pan with a little bit of olive oil in it. It's at a nice temperature. And we will brown them. And just let that go for a few minutes. I've got the oven already preheated, so as soon as these are browned a little bit, I'm going to stick them in the oven to finish cooking. I'm doing this at kind of a medium-high temperature in the frying pan. Meanwhile, while I wait on that, you can come up here for just a second. Where are we? There we are. I've got a glass of wine. Big old mug full of wine. But a person needs a small libation, a glass of wine, while cooking dinner. Red, and this is red wine. I know I should drink white wine because I've got a white meat, but a glass of wine while you're cooking, a nice red wine is good for you. So, Prost. Let's take a look at the meat. And let's try turning it just a quarter of a turn. It's sticking a little bit, but we can still make it work. I think that's the Parmesan on it. I'm not going to leave it quite as long. I think I'll turn it more frequently. Okay, now there's one other thing here. This one here has got the toothpicks in it. This one, I didn't bother with any toothpicks. I felt it was pretty well wrapped and I was going to see what the difference is. So that's another difference. Alright, it's time to start the sauce. So what I'm going to do is I've got this small saucepan over low heat, and the sauce calls for 1/4 of a brick of softened cream cheese, and that's already right here. Then I'm to add 4 ounces of softened goat cheese. As I mentioned before, I don't do goat cheese. So I've cut up some slices of Swiss cheese into small chunks and hopefully they'll melt. Then we need 1/3 cup of heavy whipping cream, some Parmesan cheese, salt, pepper, and hot sauce. So let's get on with this. Here is the Swiss cheese. Put that right in. And right behind it is going to be the Parmesan cheese, or cheese in the style of Parma, Italy, since the Europeans get all exercised about the fact that we call cheese made in the US of A Parmesan. Now we'll pour in 1/3 cup of milk. That looks like about 1/3 cup to me. We need a little bit of salt. That's black because I'm using smoked salt. A little bit of pepper. Finally, a little bit of hot sauce. My favorite kind. I know there are a lot of people out on YouTube and everywhere else in the world who say that this brand of hot sauce is not hot enough. Well, that's their problem, not my problem. I like this particular brand because it's not too hot. It's actually got a flavor to it. So we're going to let this slowly melt and come into a sauce. Well, there's not much left, and this is a postscript, also called PS, to my video in response to Juanelo on the chicken cordon bleu. Juanelo, we like it. Don't get me wrong with this. But I modified it to make it a little bit less strong than I feel the goat cheese would be. And now that we're done and I've got just one bite left, I'm thinking, you know, I wish there'd been just a teeny bit more oomph. Whatever. So I'm thinking, how could I spice this up a little bit? I used Swiss cheese. What could be milder? What could be more bland than a nice nutty Swiss cheese? It's good, but it doesn't grab you. So what I'm thinking is, what if I substituted pepper jack? I bet you that would kick this up a notch or two. I'm going to try that next time. Thanks for the suggestions, Juanelo. I do appreciate it. Bye-bye.